You gotta be patient and persistent to get your story out and keep telling it over and over and over again, and know that you are in a tough market for smaller companies, especially if you're a private company doing a crowdfunding offering. So know that, and that's okay. It should motivate you to work harder, to tell your story and get it out at scale.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Test, Optimize, and Scale. Have a big, important investor acquisition discussion for you today. We have David Shapiro here with us, Chief Executive Officer of B2I Digital, who works with publicly traded companies on their investor marketing initiatives. We're going to go in depth today, talk about the contrasts from an equity crowdfunding campaign and more of what's taking place in the public markets. David, have been looking forward to the discussion. Thanks for taking the time to join the pod.
Thanks, Jason. I appreciate the invite to join the podcast, and look forward to digging deep into what investors in publicly traded companies want to hear, and how CEOs can best define and refine that story.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thought we could begin with your background. How did you find yourself in this world of digital marketing towards securities?
Interesting story. Cliff Teller, who's now the CEO of Maxim Group, one of the more established broker-dealers in the US for micro and small cap publicly traded companies, had the vision about 6 years ago that digital marketing and the capital markets could work well together. The concept of bringing digital marketing into investment banking and capital raising in the public markets was almost unheard of. Reg A sort of broke the ground that digital marketing could be done in a compliant manner, but no one ever thought that you could do it actually inside a broker-dealer, which is the umbrella entity for an investment bank. And so Cliff brought me on as their first ever chief marketing officer for the entire broker-dealer to build their investor awareness platform, where he had this crazy notion that if people knew about a stock, security, and its story, they might actually want to invest in said stock, security, and offering. So I'm a licensed investment banker. I am not acting in that capacity in today's show or role, for the record, for anybody listening from a regulatory agency. But I do have an active license. And the idea that, that bankers need to help their clients not just raise the capital, but in between capital raising events. That you can't just raise capital and forget about your client. That your investors want to know what's going on before, during, and after the deal. After the deal is banked. You raise them $100 million, you put it out there, there's a lot of excitement. They price it at $10, that IPO, that follow-on offering, and then it drops to 6, 8, 2, because there's no follow-through. Every banker, across the world and the US promises, post-deal market support. That means 2 guys in a room making 3 phone calls and they're done. So, Maxim and Cliff and the whole banking team there, the vision that where after a deal is priced, that ongoing investor awareness through this little thing you may have heard, Jason, called the internet, online, digital, might reach a few people, as in a few billion people. And we prove the notion that if people are aware of a company and what they're doing on an ongoing basis, that they're more likely to stay invested in that company. They bought it at 10, they're considering selling it, drop a little bit, take their profit, but they see the story out there on a regular basis through email, social media marketing, digital ads, paid ad content targeted to investors, more likely to stay engaged in that story. And that's what we prove, that you can reach investors, and an educated investor will want to stay informed, stay engaged, and stay involved. And one of the biggest misconceptions that we overcame was we proved that digital marketing can reach not just the retail play. I just did air quotes, anybody listening to the podcast, but institutional investors are actually online too. You know how I know this? It's because they have a pulse.
Mm-hmm.
And with a pulse, you have a computer, you have a phone, you have a tablet. And guess what? You are targetable. LinkedIn knows exactly where you work. They know what fund you work for. They know you're the chief investment officer for a family office that manages $5 billion. You manage a small portfolio. They know everything about you. So does Google. So does Meta. So does X. They know who you are. So any kind of investor can be reached through the digital targeting channels available to all of us. And so what I did at Max Group was to build their internal invest awareness platform called MVest. And then ironically, 2 years ago, they decided that they didn't want to do this digital marketing thing, once again, air quotes around the word thing, uh, inside the broker dealer because a number of the partners at the broker dealer were legal guys, compliance guys, and they didn't understand like digital marketing. They didn't know what a feed or Facebook was. They're like Cliff, just give David the business, let him do his thing outside the broker dealer, outside the investment bank, and he'll get the story out there, get some liquidity, volume, and awareness on our clients. And when they're ready to bank a deal, i.e. raise money again, send them back to us, and we'll get our big fees. And I was like, wait, so Cliff, am I getting fired? He's like, no, we just want you to transition out of the bank, and we're gonna give you the clients, give you the IP, and the business is yours. Now, anybody who knows investment bankers is like, wait, so what's the catch? My lawyer reviewed it. My wife reviewed it. There's no catch. Just they decided that they wanted me to do this, at arm's length and tell a company story. And then when that company needs the service of a broker dealer, investment banking for capital markets activities, they can go back to the bank. They need digital marketing, technology, and awareness. They can come to B2I Digital. And so most people have this story of starting a company in a garage on a shoestring budget. I started my company with the support of a major broker dealer with an established business and clients engaging day one. So I didn't have the garage experience in this business. I've done other companies in my younger days that were started in the metaphorical garage, but this one was started like with the momentum of a good market at the time in 2021, with the support of a bank behind me to go forth and prosper. Yet digital just passed our 2-year anniversary, and thank God, we've been doing okay.
Very nice. Very nice. And appreciate that background. For everyone who's not familiar with Maxim on the broker dealer side, as David said, one of the largest. So building out the MVest platform there with your financial investment banking background and being able to really tell stocks, security story for each one of these brands. I love how you talked about the before, during, after as well too, because like you said, we all live online now. It doesn't matter who we are. I always get that same question as well. Are accredited investors online or high net worth online? Do they go on to these social media platforms? Like you said, they're living, breathing with that pulse. They absolutely do. They're probably embarrassed to show you their screen time on a daily basis, whether it's multitasking and in the background, but they're on LinkedIn, YouTube. I'm personally on Instagram all the time. I put an hour limit for myself each day. I can't believe how fast the time goes. And they're reachable with these advertisements, with messaging, with a full marketing approach. What are the best ways to approach a strategy in your experience, David? If you get that introduction from Maxim or from any group that's on the public markets and they're saying, hey, we want to be able to tell our story. Here are our KPIs, the key performance indicators we want to hit. Where does your mind go to? What is your process to map out a marketing plan to hit those goals?
What I found is that, like, as I've gotten older, maybe a little wiser, possibly, is I try to make things very simple. Marketing is simple when you break it down into two sides: story, audience. Hard stop, no qualifiers, right there. So what do I go to first? What is your story? You are selling a 4-letter word, usually security, on an exchange. Why would anybody care? Why would someone give you $1 or $1 million or more? We got to define the story first. Is there a unique value proposition in what you're selling, and why someone would want to invest in your company after they learn your story? Side two, audience. What are the ideal investors that you want to attract to your company and your story? Is it more retail, small, accredited investors, high net worth, ultra high net worth, next level family offices, funds? Do you qualify for that criteria? What kind of investors do we want to target? And that's really all marketing is. We break it down to the story and audience. We have a 30-year veteran director of research who was head of research at Wells Fargo Securities, writing our content. I had this epiphany about a year ago that who better person to write content marketing for investment ideas than an equity research analyst? And this is my second one that I've worked with so far in the lifespan of our company, and they're brilliant writers. They can rip apart a company, find out the key value, put it back together again, and help present it. But also in that first part of marketing of the story, I have a phenomenal writer and analyst. I myself, as having a banking background, work with him on defining the verbiage, the written version of the story. I also have a design team of 4 designers that make sure that we can visually compel and tell that story as well. When someone comes to our website to see their profile on our website, sees their social media content, sees an email about the company, that visually it's appealing of like in 30 seconds or less, why do I care? And that's really is the key to the storytelling aspect of it, to engage with those investors.
Why do I care? What's going to make me move forward? I love how you have an analyst working on that. It's not as simple as just having a deal online. Reg CF, Reg A, some of the equity crowdfunding vehicles we work on, or even being public for that matter, as much as understanding who you're pitching and what aspects of the story are going to resonate with them and why. From there, which funnel you're taking them down. Just to add to it, multiple voices talking about what we're doing in terms of investor marketing. I want to have a full breakdown in the strategy section of what competitors are doing in the space before looking at an audience, and then understanding that audience is likely getting pitched by those other Reg CF, Reg A offerings, by those other microcap companies, by these other types of deals out there. And the story has to be as strong, if not more compelling, than those other groups. Otherwise, we're just going to lose them. It's got to contain third-party validation. People don't believe what they read and see on the internet, as David was saying. It's filled with a lack of trust if you look at the surveys around users. So to be able to show social proof goes a long way as well. And then as we start to look at marketing channels and where to reach these audiences, both with paid advertising and organic content marketing, can get into the creative and how it's really going to resonate with those users at those times. How do you craft a good story, David? I know we've talked about the equity research analyst. I know we've talked about overall concept. I mean, beginning, middle, end. But what do you find gets the most attention, the most interaction in terms of the story?
Once again, I try to make it simple. Is that there's the 3 M's to the storytelling aspect. Market potential. There's no market for what you're offering, whether it's a biotech drug curing a disease or a new electric vehicle technology or new technology. Market potential. Management team. Who is going to execute? Everybody can have an idea on a napkin, but if you don't have a good team that's going to actually execute, it's not going to get done. This applies to Reg CF, Reg A, Reg D506Cs, public companies. You better have a management team that can execute on and deploy the capital and use it in a wise manner. And then the last one is actually the most important. A lot of people shy away from this one is money. And my mom always told me that money is not a dirty word. You don't ask for it, you don't talk about it, you're never going to get it. So even if you're pre-revenue, show you have a clear grasp of how you're going to commercialize your product, how you're going to generate revenue, how you're going to bring in revenue, then go down to gross margin, to EBITDA, to net income, that you have a clear and realistic path for the money, for the financial profitability of your company. Don't tell me you got a 20 million TAM, being total addressable market. I mean, I'm sorry, not 20, sometimes like you have a $20 trillion TAM. And like you lose credibility when you see a ridiculous numbers
Yeah.
like trillions. Well, we are the Uber of this, and we are the Shopify of this, and we can meet a billion people. Well, show me you're realistic and pragmatic about how are you going to take the $5,000 money I'm putting in a Reg CF, the 5 million I'm putting in as a professional money manager from a fund into your company. How are you going to deploy that to take that money and make more money? And if you can't really talk about the money aspect of it with, hard real numbers, obviously legally qualified with they are projections, forward-looking statements, and clarify the money aspect of it, no one is going to invest in you. So that's really is the key. You got to make that those zingers really stand out. And once you have that down, then we can start the second part of marketing from the story into distribution of the story out via all the digital channels that we're discussing.
Market potential, management team, money, and being able to show the actual game that we're playing with the money. Don't make it unrealistic. Like you're saying, David, if I see something that's too large, it's immediately ignored, because we've all seen those type of pitches, and in many cases we've seen those groups amount to nothing, which is more common than not. Looking in the entrepreneurial space, even in the public markets, I know when we're putting together advertising messaging, if we're able to talk about the money that's been raised thus far, over 10 million raised from smaller campaigns, a lot of retail, over 10,000 investors, it speaks loudly. It shows not just that there's movement, but there's sign off from these individuals, want to communicate as part of the story that this is a moving ship, and allow the prospective investors to have their own fear of missing out accordingly, but being able to show that strength in numbers.
Exactly. And with the crowdfunding campaigns that you are just like, remarketing to them, upselling them. Once they put in $1,000, it's a lot easier to get them to put in another 1,000, another 5,000.
Oh yeah.
You've already earned their loyalty. They've already pulled the trigger once. They can pull it again and again, as long as you keep communicating with them. Like, keep don't just take their money and run. Keep them updated. Here's the progress of the campaign. Since you invested in, we've now raised another 100,000, 500,000, another $1 million, and keep marketing them so they'll get excited about the potential and see the momentum, see the growing base of shareholders that are coming into that crowdfunding offering. I mean, Reg A's and Reg C have revolutionized and democratized the whole way in which capital is raised. And getting people involved and excited about what you're doing is key. And you got to keep them informed. When the CEO says like, well, I can do any investor engagement, outreach, I mean, any new news to share. Wrong. When you have no new news to share, that is the worst time to be silent. You're doing something. You go to work every day. Are you going to work and just doing nothing? You're doing something. Talk about the day in, day out of how hard the team is working to deploy the capital already received, how you're developing that new technology, the software, the code, have your developer, do a 2-minute video about, what he's working on. Get into it, because you are always working. There is always something newsworthy to tell. Because unless you really are doing nothing, then, well, that's a whole different story. But I'm assuming you are doing something. Let's get that story out there and keep telling them, keep reassuring those who are already in, because either they can put in more, or, as you know, Jason, they can refer, their rich aunt or uncle to put in as well, their friend to put in as well. Hey, I got 1,000 in this new company. Help me out. Like, I worked on Nightscope's Reg A when I was at Maxim Group for a while, and we had a lot of people that came in again, brought in people that they knew, and he kept building a base of investors, and then now the company is essentially went from Reg D 506C as a private placement to Reg A to an IPO and being a NASDAQ listed company. So you can accomplish that path by constantly communicating, educating, and updating your investors. Don't forget about those that give you money. Because like our company name, if you haven't caught on yet, B to I digital, business to investor digital marketing. We all know B2B, business to business, B2C, business to consumer, term that I coined, try and take credit for inventing it, but it's really hard to trademark because it's just 3 letters. But like, yeah, business to investor, digital marketing. It's something you got to do. You say to a CEO, like, so how much is your B2I budget this year? They're like, what? Well, you got a B2B budget and B2C budget. Why don't you have any? You're not targeting and investing in communicating with your investors, the guys that give you the capital, which is, in my view, the fuel for the engine that runs that machine of your company of yours. How are you going to grow? How are you going to expand if you don't talk to those investors? Yes, you want money from your consumers or business partners based on whether you're a B2B or B2C company, but you also want to keep your investors engaged and excited and involved.
I love that. I'm going to quote you on the B to I budget. I think that's so well said, and it's something that so many groups ignore. We're on our 6th round with one issuer right now. 8 figures of capital, 8 figures of investors. Excuse me, 5 figures of investors. But it's the messaging in between the rounds that I think creates that real engagement among the brand and the investor, business to investor there. It's investors participating multiple times. In our case studies, we'll look and see 10 to 30% of Reg CF campaigns having multiple investments from the same investors. 10 to 30% of the time, those investors participate multiple times. We'll see them participate in the next rounds and at higher valuations. We'll see them work as ambassadors and share to their friends, family, what have you. Picturing how that takes place in the public markets, picturing how, as you said, it evolves from, Reg D, side by side, Reg CF, Reg D, Reg A, going public. It just continues and it continues and it continues from there. I've seen other issuers, I've seen other founders say, hey, we were successful in this campaign. Great job. We're not going to do any more fundraising. We really don't need to continue this marketing towards investors, but we appreciate it. Now I'll watch them follow up with me 3 months later and say, hey, we're going to do another round and let's kick things off again. Here's the date, and we'll have to explain they should really be doing, pre-launch marketing in between the rounds. I'll have groups that have not done an update on their offering page, on their social pages, on their emails in years, and get in contact with us and are, scrambling to have us do a post for them and show them the momentum we've had. It's like you said, talk about your team, have them doing, bite-sized interviews. We do a monthly webinar. We're not even publicly traded. We do articles every couple of weeks. We do all of this to show what's happening over here. I'll look at Reg A campaigns, sometimes for publicly traded companies, where every week there'll be a different headline announcement that's prepared before the campaign even goes live as a baseline. So more is occurring. Fantastic. We're going to have more to talk about. But whether that happens or not, look at this conference that we're speaking at, look at this podcast we just did, check out this new partnership, look at our next webinar. We put out a thought leadership piece. We were featured by Forbes. We, got into syndication through a press release with, Market Watch, Business Insider, but something new to talk about all the time. And what I really envision when I think of the audience is not only getting the messaging, the narrative to them to a point where they can consume it, they can understand it, but where they can repeat it and they can be that voice as they share and peer-to-peer marketing occurs.
Absolutely. And just like to highlight like part of what you said, like that in between deal marketing, keep them up to date when you're not asking them for money, that is so valuable. I always use the analogy of that. I hate to say rich uncle because I want to be politically correct, rich aunt or uncle, is you don't just ask them for money when you need money. You send them cards all year round. So you need money from that rich relative. They'll be like, oh, hey, we're always in touch. Thanks. You're always calling me every Sunday. That's great. You don't just go to them when you need money. Otherwise, they're going to think that's all you want. You got to keep up that relationship. And it's a relationship that you got to build and foster. They use the term stakeholder. What is a stakeholder? Somebody who's invested in your company. You got to talk to them. And just that ongoing communication is so key. And there's always a way to develop content that will update them. One of my clients, she does a weekly 3 to 5 minute interview put up on our social media channels. BI Digital has over 460,000 followers across LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, X, and even Threads is something that is catching on. And we put that out, and people actually watch it. And hearing a heartfelt interview from a CEO talking about her experiences in the healthcare space and what she's going through personally personalizes the CEO and makes her more endearing to her investors. Talking to them directly as a person, as a CEO. And what I find interesting is that people think that they can't talk to the CEO, and investors think they can't reach them. But the reality is, CEOs want to talk to investors. Investors want to talk to CEOs. And one of the ways that I describe what I do for a living is that I'm a matchmaker, matching up good investors with good companies. Right, Jason? We just bring them together, make a good match. If it makes sense, they work together. And they really do want to talk to their, and be like, oh, well, I'm only going to put in 3,000 or 5,000. Have you ever met a CEO, Jason, that didn't want to talk to an investor?
I've seen some that hide from video and, have some of their own things, but we give them coaching around that. They all understand the importance. That's a fact. And 95%, the more investors they can speak to of magnitude, the better.
I've had a few CEOs say oh, at that conference, I want to just talk to only institutional investors. I'm like, hey, John, I'm like, but you told me your problems were liquidity, volume, and trading. That's the retail people that are going to be the ones that do the trading and keep your volume going, that will attract the attention of larger professional money managers and institutional investors. You can't tell me you want more trading volume, more liquidity, and then say you don't want to talk to those terrible retail investors. We're not trying to make it into a meme stock. We're not doing this Reddit stuff. We're talking to fundamental, serious investors who are going to come in for the long term. You got to talk to them, and 5 minutes, 10 minutes, communicate with them, put them on your email list, update them, do a town hall, do a webinar, communicate with them, and that's what's going to keep them engaged. That's going to solve a problem that you had. That's how we solve it for you. Is we help you develop the ideal mix of all different kinds of retail investors and different kinds of institutional investors. It's we always start off with our clients who are your current investors and who you want them to be, and the delta, the variation between the two, is how we target the marketing. Do you want more retail? Do you want more institutional? Do you want more analyst coverage? Who are we trying to reach? Goes back to the premise of what is marketing. Got to have the story down, and then we adjust that story and tell it to the different audiences of investors that we want to reach.
Got to have the story down, got to figure out the audience. We had talked about some of the messaging, and as part of that story, the market potential, the management team, the money. What about the actual distribution? As you said, there's misconceptions of, hey, what investor is ever going to be on this channel? I've heard what investors are ever going to click on an ad. What have you found the most productive channels to be? Is it LinkedIn outreach? Is it advertising on social platforms such as Meta, Google? Is it advertising on financial media websites, getting featured in financial email newsletters, road shows, other types of speaking engagements? What are some channels that you like to focus on in your campaigns and discussions?
Actually, the way I'm going to answer that is everything. In the current markets right now are terrible. Investors are wary. And you need to leverage every, I hate to use cliches, tool in your tool belt, arrow in your quiver. You want to be seen on social media, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Thread. So when they do a Google search, you pop up on all those social platforms and they can see you everywhere they go. Because each investor may be on and be researching on different platforms. So you can't say LinkedIn is the way to go, or Instagram is the way to go, or Twitter is the way to go, or email is the way to go. So we use a hybrid approach of a campaign across, all organic channels. And organic digital marketing is simply, our website, where they have a profile on our site, social media marketing, and email marketing. So having a good profile that tells the story, having a good social media presence and content out there organically on all the major platforms, and emailing them regularly with updates and news about the companies. Amplifying that organic content with paid ads on those same platforms. Paid engagement ads on LinkedIn, paid conversion ads, lead generation ads on LinkedIn, on Facebook, Instagram, on the Meta ads platform. Um, Twitter ads. I know a lot of controversy around Twitter ads, X ads right now, but they do get a lot of engagement, and people will see. And people like your tweet, retweet it, share it, have that social proof. But really, our mainstay for in the paid ad department is the Google Ads platform. And people have a misconception about what is Google Ads, and people think just Google search. Yeah, that's one thing. You want to have a solid search campaign, people looking for your company, a similar company, a comp or comparable to your company. You want them to find you. Great. However, this little thing called the Google Display Network, what is that? 3+ million, no one knows exactly how many, not even Google, websites, apps, YouTube videos you can place an ad on. People are so impressed, like, David, how did you get my banner ad about my company on the header of Yahoo Finance? I'm like, well, I can't tell you that, but I'll tell you, Jason, I'll tell your audience. Google Display Network, I checked the box for finance, apps, and websites as a placement option on the Google Display Network, and my design team made a nice image that appears there. They click on it, goes to their landing page on our site. And that's how you get onto Yahoo Finance, StockTwits, Bloomberg News, Wall Street Journal, instead of trying to beg a Wall Street Journal, editor to put your article up there. Just pay 10 cents per click for your banner ad to appear on the header of the journal. I had an account rep at StockTwits. He's like, yeah, we really hate Google. They sell our inventory at 10 cents on the dollar for what we charge for you to do a direct buy at StockTwits. But the volume they give us of the ad placements, it fills in our site. So we'll give the premium content to our 100% paying clients, but Google gets the rest. So you can appear on StockTwits or other financial publications. And, so to answer your question is having a holistic approach. Wherever you are searching or browsing online, they see you and your company or story. Because it's all about the audience you're targeting. Do I care whether they're playing some stupid game on their phone when they see the ad, or on Yahoo Finance looking up their portfolio? No, I'm reaching the right person. It's who you're targeting that matters. But placements do matter as well to qualify that statement, because there's a halo effect when they see your ad on a Bloomberg News, and they are part of the Google Display Network of finance sites and apps you can place on. So it is a nice combination. We can always reach that audience wherever they go.
Everywhere. Playing off that word again. Everywhere. Have the right placements, the ones that will give you the halo effect. I find it's the retargeting, touch point 7 later, where we see the actual performance. Where do you guys see the performance? What are you measuring? We've worked on publicly traded campaigns that were email signups, CEO branding, regular CEO content coming out there. I know you run some campaigns to the B2I ecosystem and to your site. Where are you measuring the performance on a company that's $100 million and you're looking to see more liquidity, volume, and trading on their stock?
The most tangible part of the marketing that we can legally offer to our clients is the actual investors who opt in to stay updated on that company, who fill out a lead form, which you can attach actually directly to a digital ad, as you know, Jason, and on their profile on our website. So building that list of people who actually say, raise their hand to I want to be kept up to date on what you're doing, They wouldn't do that. No one wants extra emails unless they really care about you and your company, your story, to get emails. So every week they get a report that shows millions of ad impressions delivered, which shows awareness in the markets. Tens of thousands of people clicking on those ads shows that we're resonating, that the right people are seeing it and having good click-through rates on those ads. Spending 3, 5, 10 minutes per person reading about your company, and then X% filling out a form saying like, I want to learn more and talk to management. And then giving that list to that CEO, CFO, head of investor relations inside the firm or their external IR firm. It's like, here's who we actually got. This is where you take the BS out of marketing. It's like, here's your list. You can call this person. They saw the marketing. They saw that social media post. They actually were on Instagram that you think no one's on, even though it's a billion people right now. They responded to the email. They want to know about your company. And oh, by the way, they own 100,000 shares of your stock. Maybe you want to give them a call. Oh yeah, David, that marketing thing is actually working. So you get down to real people who are inquiring. Because when you're doing a crowdfunding campaign, you can measure ROAS, return on ad spend. If you're doing a direct, there you're selling a product. You can actually are selling the investment. When we're doing just general investment awareness campaigns where we're not a licensed broker dealer to sell the security, the closer we get to the sale is an interested party who has some money in their wallet to want to invest in your company and give you those people as a tangible aspect of it. So that's really where we see the results is lead generation, or I call it investor gen. I love making up terms.
Investor gen, another good one there. Another good one. We use investor acquisition, investor marketing a lot. I may have used the term B2I when speaking B2B, B2C, but the way you've coined it is awesome. Investor gen, even more so. We do a lot of investor gen for Reg D campaigns when we're reaching accredited investors, and it's a longer sales cycle, and that offline touch is more pertinent, especially for a higher transactional value. If any founders are listening in right now, whether they're working on a Reg A campaign or maybe they're public, maybe they're attending conferences, LD Micro, the Microcap conference, they're trying to find more ways to reach investors and see a boost in their liquidity, volume, and trading. What are some things they could test out towards their own model? I know we've talked about store, we've talked about so much already in terms of channels. Are there any other, I don't want to say growth hacks, but any other tactics that you would recommend they test? We look at marketing as a series of tests towards their own growth.
They should really, one thing that I find that a lot of them just don't test is how important it is for that CEO to recognize that their job as the spokesperson for the company, that people are investing in people. Talk a lot about the money, the quantitative, but the qualitative aspect of a CEO getting in front of a camera, just like right now, you and I are on Zoom, we're recording it. Video quality is perfectly fine for any content. For the CEO to get on the video, speak to investors, put out a short video, post it on their LinkedIn, their Twitter, on their website, just talk to the people. You are a politician, you are a leader, you are a spokesperson, you are a representative of your company. That's really what I want you to test. I want you to put out a genuine piece of a few minutes, even just using your iPhone, and record it and share it on your own LinkedIn with your 3,000 followers. When you get 10, 20, 50, 100 likes, 7 reposts, comments, hey, great job, great interview, love what you said, that's when you'll feel like, wow, okay, that actually worked. I'm gonna do that again and again and again. Test that out as one idea to test. I just spoke to a CEO recently, and like, okay, David, great idea. Let me think it through, talk to my IR firm, script out what I'm gonna say. Like, no, just speak. So you don't run off on tangents. Have 5 bullet points you want to cover, but just get in front of the camera, and you're passionate about your business. The words will come, they will flow. and people will feel the sincerity, the genuineness of what you're saying when it's not so scripted. Like right now, Jason, you called me up, we chatted, and said, all right, let's do a podcast. This is not scripted. We're both speaking from our passion for helping companies to tell their stories, to get it out there. There's no script here. We're just passionate about trying to help these companies. And, you know, and that people will resonate with that kind of content. Same that applies for you and I, will apply for any of our CEO and founder friends.
It'd be a long script if we were trying to map this out here. And I couldn't agree with you more. I really want to echo that. Even having a mobile phone video recording, I've seen perform very well. Those likes, comments, reshares, which is really all about what the content distribution success looks like. If I write an article and I get no reposts, if I write an article and I get 100 links to that article, I may get 40,000 views. Like Forbes Agency Council article or something like that. I get to see it firsthand, and you just do it more, you get better at it. I've seen CEOs, founders of all sizes hesitant on what their audience is going to think, where, like you said, the listeners, the viewers, they feel the authenticity. It's supposed to encapsulate what a sit down would feel like with them. And even just seeing the human element and little gaps in between sentences, all of that can still work. Does not need to be as polished as much as, that real feeling behind it, that passion, that transfer of energy around the goals that the organization's going towards. And this is what we're playing for. Make sure you see our updates. I really see that go a long way. But what about if it doesn't? It could be the video. It could be the advertising on Yahoo or anything on LinkedIn, the story itself. I find not everything works, and not everything works out of the gate at that. I look at real marketing talent as problem-solving abilities and being able to manage to a point of effectiveness. How would you recommend listeners to optimize their own campaigns towards success if that first video, that first ad campaign, that first rollout does not perform to their goals?
Well, I mean, your mantra of like test, optimize, scale. I mean, it's very eloquent. It's actually what I do, but I never said it so eloquently as you have said it. Like, you test that video number one, and that didn't work. You try writing maybe your video is not your thing. Try writing something from the heart that's really sincere about your passion for like why you founded this company. Then try that. Doesn't work? Try something else. Try writing an email to your email list, but don't give up if one thing doesn't work one time, it could work the next time. So really, test till you find kind of like your niche, and don't feel like, well, a video is the only way that works, or a blog is the only way that works, and writing art is the only way that works. What works has to fit your personality and what you're good at. If you're really good at speaking and presenting, leverage that. If you're really good at writing, then write. Leverage your own strengths, convey your own personality, and that's, where you'll find that niche. Then keep optimizing within that niche. If it is video, optimize the kind of video you do, length, format, content, try different things, see what works. And, then you optimize and scale. Now, something I didn't really mention is the way I got into marketing was by being a data geek. And my dad and I, back in the 90s, I am over 50, I'm old. And some father and sons went fishing or built stuff in the backyard. My dad and I built access databases, SQL Server databases for clients. I'm a data guy. Data drives it all. So you measure everything. We tag, track everything imaginable to measure what's going on. So we can then go back to those campaigns. So like, video A worked better than video B. Article on LinkedIn worked better than a post. A short tweet worked better than something else. You measure everything. I have a dedicated person whose sole job is data scientist. I found the best data scientist in the world who knows how to tag and track and measure everything. And he also need to make sure that we are always deploying the hard-earned dollars of our clients' ad budgets to the right forums by measuring everything. So, you know, if I go to your website and I don't see on your site uh, a tag for Google Tag Manager, for LinkedIn, for Twitter, for Meta, you better have every pixel on your site and measure every audience. Otherwise, you're not going to be doing the best campaigns possible. And that's really the key is just, you know, test, optimize, scale. Once you figure out what's working, you can scale it. And once you know that you got a 2x, 3x, 4x ROAS, return on your ad spend, then you know with confidence, putting a 100 grand budget into that campaign structure where it's a 20% on Google, 30% on Meta, 15% on X, 25% on paid social, then you know that equation works. But you won't know until you test and optimize, reallocate budgets across platforms, and then scale out what is getting you the best return on your ad spend.
And any tips, any examples towards scale? Big fan of the tag manager and understanding the pixels are all there, letting the data show you what's working and being able to move away from assumptions and optimize towards the pockets of performance that are really driving and change up the percentages, the marketing mix to get there. I know you've worked on big campaigns. Any tips, examples that we could share with listeners?
Well, the thing is with scaling is you got to be careful because what works on a $10,000 budget may not work on a $100,000 budget. So you scale carefully, like you keep increasing it. If you go from 10 to 20 and also all your metrics have gone, off the wagon and you're no longer getting the same cost per investor lead, cost per click-through rate, you need to adjust because there may not work as well with a bigger audience. So you gotta scale, but don't do what I've had some clients, and I'm trying to avoid giving examples. I don't want to name certain clients
Sure.
where I'm going to call saying on a Friday, David, we got some news coming out. We got some things happening. Can't tell you what it is. Can you spend $100,000 over the weekend on digital ads? I'm like, no, that will drive the machine learning, which every now is it's cool to call it AI, but it's the same thing. Let's be honest. Okay.
Yeah.
The machine learning will not process your $100,000 weekend blitz. It will get you a billion impressions of people all over the world, even though you're saying only target US. It will not work. So you have to plan your scaling strategy carefully so that scale it over a period of a week, 2 weeks, a month to go from say 100,000 to $1 million piece of an ad budget per month. So scale, but scale strategically so you can see whether or not there's a point of diminishing returns on that campaign mix.
And you can't scale too quick. Like you said, you get in the wrong spot on the algorithm, the AI, you're not going to be winning placements, winning bids over other advertisers. I could see all the background, all of the data science that goes into your campaigns. I think we have that in common, even though, different types of vehicles for the fundraising. Feel like I could talk to you all day and that we're operating in similar worlds here. But want to be respectful to your time. As we begin to wrap up the conversation here, any final thoughts that you want to leave the audience with today? And what is the best way for them to get in contact with you, with B2I for more information, more updates over time?
Final thought is accept the fact that the markets are struggling for anybody unless you're Apple. So know that it's tough going in and be ready to be, two things that I ask of my CEO clients, and it's hard: patience and persistence. And those are the two hardest things for a CEO to really be you want it, David, we've got to raise $5 million, end of the year, or we're out of business. I'm like, well, you kind of waited too long. You gotta be patient and persistent to get your story out and keep telling it over and over and over again, and know that you are in a tough market for smaller companies, especially if you're a private company doing a crowdfunding offering. So know that, and that's okay. It should motivate you to work harder, to tell your story and get it out at scale. So don't let the tough market scare you away from doing it. You can still do it. Just work hard at it. Bring in experts like Jason to help you with this, and you can get it done. If you are on a path towards a public fundraising event and would like to talk further, I am notorious for giving away free advice. David at digital.com. I actually, as I said before, I'm old school. I have a cell phone that I actually use for voice communication. So 917, the old school number for New York's area, 917-806-4171. 917-806-4171. I will probably answer unless I am in a meeting or doing a podcast with Jason and take your call and tell you whatever I can think about that might be able to help you grow your business from early stage to late stage. So reach out anytime to me or Jason. We're both here to happy to help you. Challenging markets, but together, people like me and Jason and other peers in the industry, together we can all help you. And together we can get through this. And my economic forecast as non-economist is by first half next year, the markets will change. And if you persevere, you will do well in 2024. So stick at it and let's keep it working on this together, all of us.
Well, you heard it here, first half of next year into 2024. And that warm invitation from David, I highly recommend you take him up on that. Give him a call, email, whatever you're more comfortable with. But that's a very kind offering of yours, David. I want to thank you personally so much for taking the time to hop on, speak to listeners today, have this conversation, be able to put out this content. Like you, passionate and want to see a higher success rate from marketing industry-wide on these B2I campaigns. And just want to let you know, on behalf of listeners, we appreciate it.
Thanks, Jason. I really appreciate the invite to be on your podcast and look forward to our part two.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. We'll see you next time.